All right. So let's go ahead and do a short warm up today. We'll take a look at the 13 postures in the third section. So, feet together, and a single bow. And feet shoulder width apart. Knees bent, hips slightly tucked. Spine nice and long. Shoulders relaxed. Breath into the belly. And bend forward. Straighten the legs. Roll down. Come back up. Hands on kidneys, lean back. And back to center. And again. Roll down. Come back up. Hands on kidneys, lean back. Back to center. And again. Come back up. Hands on kidneys, lean back. And back to center. One more time, this time swinging from foot to foot. So, straighten the legs, roll down, and gently swing. And back to center. And come back up. Hands on kidneys, lean back. And back to center. Now carry the tiger. Reach up. Drop the arms. Reach back, open the chest. Hands, settle back into the basic posture. haul, and hold, the basic posture. And drop, haul. And play the P button. Shift, turn, haul. Haul. Right to center. Now, horse stance. Push the knees apart. And squat. Toes down. And shift. And shift. Toes up. Shift. And back to center. And walk the feet in. Oh, all right. So let's do 13 postures, and I'll talk through the 13 postures, and when we get to the third section, we'll pause and review the details of the the third section. So, 13 postures. Feet together, toes together. And haul. Oh. Oh. And shift to the right, bring the left toes to the diagonal. Shift back to the left, turn so that we're facing the cardinal. Right hand, right foot, draw in as you stand up on the on the left leg. Sit down, step out onto the right heel, roll the foot onto the right toes, swing up with the right arm. Sit down on the left leg. Turning, rising, sitting back down to center, rising and press. Now sit down, bring hands in, turn the right hand over, shift, turn the hips, bring in the left toes, strike with the left hand. Shift back onto the left foot, cross the hands, drop the elbows. Step out onto the right heel, rise up, rolling the right foot onto the right toes and push. Then sit down onto the left leg. Turn, bring the right toes to the front diagonal. Shift the weight onto the right leg. Now left hand, left foot sweep, and you rise up on the right leg, bringing the left hand and the left foot. Sit down, step out onto the left heel, roll the foot onto the left toes, sweep up with the left arm. Sit down, opening the hips. Stand up, rotating the hips. Sit back down, squaring the hips to cardinal. And then rise up, lifting the heel on the left foot at the same time, and press. Drop the elbow, sitting down on the rear, turn the hand, shift, strike, bring that right toes in, strike with the right palm. Shift the weight back, cross the hands, drop the elbows, step out, and push. Sit down, turn, facing front, so foot facing diagonal, and stand up. Sit down, step out, ward off. Rest the sparrow stand. Press. Seal it closed. Shift back. Drop the elbows. Push. Sit down. Turn. Bring the right toes to the rear of the diagonal. Shift the weight. Rise up, bring the hands in and the foot. Then sit down, step out onto the left foot, onto the left heel, roll the foot onto the left toes, ward off with the left arm. Sit down, open the hips, stand up, turn the hips, circling the hand. Sit back down, squaring the hips to the front, then rise up and press the left wrist. Drop the left elbow, bring the hands in, turn the left hand over, shift the weight forward, turn the hips, bring the right toes in, strike with the right palm. Shift the weight back, cross the hands, drop the elbows, step out onto the left heel, rise up onto the left toes and push. Now, second section, sit down, turn, shift, and then slide the right foot towards the cardinal. Stand up, bringing the right knee up. Yank, slightly bigger step, and push. Shift the weight back, stand up, drawing the right toes in. Circle the hands, look back, look front. Big step slightly to the side, squat. Brush the right knee with the right hand, turn the hips, shift forward, push. Play the pipa. So right hand goes up, left toes cross, shift the weight onto the left foot. Draw down, yank, then step back towards the cardinal, rise up and push with the back of the hand. Now 180 degree turn, so we bring the right toes, the right hand across, shift the weight, face 180 degree turn, so facing the opposite direction. Pick up the left knee, yank, big step, push. Circle the hands back, stand up, look back, look front. Big step, squat, brush the left knee, turn the hips, bring the foot in, strike with the right hand. Left hand goes up, right toes cross. Shift, sit down, and push. Now facing the rear, the left toes, shift, slide forward. Pick up the right knee, right hand, yank, big step, push. Stand up on the rear leg, circle the hands, look back, look front, big step, brush knee, turn the hips, step forward and push with the left hand. Right hand goes up, left toes cross, shift the weight, sit, pick up the right foot, step toward the rear cardinal, rise up and push. Now 180 degree turn, bringing the right toes with you, shift, sitting down, facing front. Pick up the knee, yank, big step, push. Stand up, circle the hands, bring the left toes in. Look front, big step slightly to the side, brush knee, and push. Left hand goes up, cross, yank, step forward, push. Now, to the diagonal. So bring the foot pointing to cardinal, because now we're doing the third section. And again, drag down towards the diagonal. Yank and push. Step through. Twist the joint. Step through. Elbow, shoulder. Sit back, turn the hips, drawing the hands across, like ward off, and then shift the weight forward, rise up. Central equilibrium. And step back onto the left foot, sit down. Circle step, rise up, roll back. Circle step, sit back, drop the elbows, push, turn the left wrist, sit down on the right leg, press. And now step back, turn. Facing the rear diagonal, the front diagonal. Step back a bit. And yank, push. Step through, twist the joint. Step through, elbow, shoulder. Sit back, turn the hips. Bring the left arm up and then shift forward to the left leg. Left hand is above your head. Step back onto the right foot. Sit down, ward off. Circle step, rise up, roll back. Circle step, sit back, drop the elbows, rise up and push. Shift the weight to the left leg, turn the right wrist, press with the right wrist. Now 90-degree turn, so we sit back onto the right foot, bring the left toes to cardinal, shift, and slide. And yank, shift forward, twist the joint. Shift forward, elbow, shoulder, sit back, turn the hips to the square, raise the right arm, and rise up onto the right foot. Step back, or step back, roll back, step back, big circle steps. Step back, push, turn the left wrist, sit down on the right leg, press. And now 180 turn, so we're bringing the toes, all the weight is on the left, toes turn until they face the cardinal, and now we're facing the rear diagonal. And again, yank, step through, twist the joint. Step through, elbow, shoulder, shift back. Left hand goes up, stand up on the left leg. And step back onto the right foot, sit down. Circle step, roll back. Circle step, sit down, drop the elbows. Push, shift the weight forward, turn the hand, press with the right wrist. Now step back onto the right toes, sit down, bring the left toes with you, face front, shift the weight to the left, right hand, right toes come in, cross the hands in front, right foot comes out, basic posture. Carry the tiger. Then the left foot comes in. Bring the hands over your belly. Feet together, toes together. And cool down. All right. So we'll take a quick look over the third section again. Before, there's one thing that I'm realizing. Just to make clear on the first section. So there's two moves really in the first section, or name moves. Grasp the sparrow's tail and seal it closed. So grasp the sparrow's tail is not just this, but grasp the sparrow's tail is all of this, all the way to here. That's grasp the sparrow's tail, right? And the thing is, it's ward off, roll back, push, press. So grasp the sparrow's tail is the four main moves that we encounter in the form in Tai Chi. Right? Ward off, roll back, push, and press. Those are our four main moves. And that's why grasp the sparrow's tail is all of them. And sometimes I know I'm in the habit of saying like ward off, grasp the sparrow's tail, and then press. It's actually all grasp the sparrow's tail. Because remember, the convention is we have four main moves, four minor moves, so 8 moves total, the 8 gates. And every named move, like grasp the sparrow's tail, is just a particular combination of those 8. So seal it closed, right? So you're here. Seal it closed is roll back. You can say this is ward off or push and then push. And it goes all the way to here. Roll back and push. Okay? So that's just a naming convention because the 13 postures, one of the reasons why it's called 13 postures is because it's 2 moves in the first section, 3 moves in the second section, and 8 moves in the third, which gives you 13. So anyway, let's take a look at the third section. So third section, starting from here, right? And we're turning to the diagonal. So in terms of the feet, you want to make sure that if you were facing cardinal before, you bring your left foot to the cardinal, because now we're going to shift and face the diagonal, right? Because the foot relationship, the rear foot is always at an angle from the direction that you want to point it. So here it's just bring the foot to the cardinal, shift to the diagonal. And we're here with the hands in the drag down posture. Pick up the right knee, bring the right hand, place it on the other side of the left palm, yank down and push. Right? So yank, which is here. This is yank, right? Yank, followed by push. So drag down is all of this, which is roll back, yank, push. But here what we're expressing is the yank. And always remember, you're not going here or even here. You're going here. Staying low, right? It's just enough of a push. So you're going from 100% on the rear leg to 70% on the rear leg. So there's a slight shift forward, but it's really not much. And you're here, and you pick up the heel so that you're using your toes, your front toes, to brace yourself. All right, so there's that pickup of the right heel. And that's what's keeping you from going too far forward, because now you're pushing yourself off that front toe instead of being flat. So it's not here and then shift. It's you're here 100% shift, place that foot, slightly bigger step, and then just come to that 70-30 position. So you're pushing off the rear leg, bracing yourself with the front leg. There's no distance in this move. That's the one thing to try to remember. It's more a matter of coming here and then filling that space, coming to the position where you feel like now you're nice and stable. All right? That's really what you want to be. Think of it after the yank, you're filling your opponent's space. It's less about projecting power out as it is to simply going, and now I'm in the space. So you're creating this strong arc with the legs, nice and open hips, bracing yourself. There's still power in that rear leg if you have to, so it's not fully extended. That's why you're not leaning on that front leg. Right? So it's a sense of opening.
Once you sink to yank, and the sink combines with the drop leg, pretty lined up with my heel. Do I step out?
So there's no step out, there's just a bigger step. Because so when we're here and we do the yank, we go all the way to the bottom of the yank, right? So the yank is here, is this. You have somebody's arm and you just go, and you sit down and you pull. And because I've sunk further than usual, when I extend my foot, it's now a bigger step, right? Because if I take a regular step, my foot just goes to about here. But because I've sat down, my foot can go actually further. So that's why there's a bigger step. The thing to remember, in terms of the application, if you were to grab somebody's arm and pull on it, so they're off balance. So what you're trying to do here is to sneak your foot in behind their leg for that push, right? So you draw them in, you pull down so they're off balance, sneak the foot behind their leg, and then you push. And so you can be a push that's actually even sideways over your knee, right? You're making them trip over your knee. So that's what I'm saying. It's not trying to go far. What's going far is your hips, right? What's going far is this, is your hips. Like everything is going to happen right here, right? Tripping over that extended foot. So less about pushing with that hand. It's more about expanding, right, with the entire body. Right? Just hook. That's what it is. The initial yank is on the guy's elbow. He's off balance. Bring your foot behind him and then push him so they fall back. Right? That's the application. So again, that's why you don't want to go up and far. You want to maintain that low and short and heavy. And that's why there's all that knee.
But if you're sunk all the way, and you extend the foot out and roll up, there's quite a bit of travel up with just a teeny bit forward.
Yeah. So one of the things is you don't want to extend all the way up, because that's what brings you up, right? So the question is, if you're sunk, and then so you take a big step, then if you rise up, you're traveling up. But you don't want to think in terms of rising up. It's literally just coming to here. There's you're not fully extending that rear leg. So that's why it's not a rising up. It's literally from here to here. Like it's almost like a ladder, like a horizontal shift with very little upward movement. It's a very small move. Another way of thinking of it is if when you've picked up that foot, think of it as almost like you're wrapping around the other guy's foot and then you pushing. All the action is happening actually from the hips down. Right? You've hooked and then you're going to push him over your knee.
Okay.
Right? So that's why you don't necessarily want to go up. You want to make sure you've taken them down, and you want them to continue going down. If that makes sense. All right. So that's drag down. Boom. And push. And it's just right here. You feel it as a big, nice opening in the hips, pushing off the rear leg, bracing yourself with the front foot. Here. Heel is up. All right. Picking up the heel. So you really feel that those toes, that front leg is bracing you. You're not leaning on it. You're not rising up. You're coming here 70-30 or 60-40 because you're actually pushing. You should feel almost like tension in the leg, like the legs are each pushing towards your center. Rear leg is pushing you this way, front leg is pushing you this way. And that brings nice solid arc. Knees are bent, hips are open. So it's creating that archway between heel and foot. Okay? One of the things that's often mentioned is that if you were to really continue pushing, what you would do is actually pivot that rear foot so that to allow you to sink further. So pushing further is not about reaching further, it's actually sitting down further. And that's what would give you more of a reach with your front foot. So that's why I'm saying it's not rising up or leaning forward. If you wanted more distance, you'd go straight down. So your feet are further out. All right, that's how central that position is actually. There's very little forward. It's more, it's a bit like press in the sense that it's like a puffer fish. You expand like a ball. Press up here or press here. Okay. So press actually is a better quality. It's better thinking. It's a better way of thinking of press than as opposed to push, right? In terms of quality of energy. So now the difficult one is twist the joint. From here, turning, bringing that hand up, bringing the toes in, circle step, twist the joint. Right. So from here, the right hand rises up, and at the same time, you turn the hips. So the way it works is while you're here, so weight is still on the left leg, the right hand rises up. So that's a block. There's a punch coming towards you, block. Right? And then you shift the weight. And the minute you shift your weight on the right leg, now the left hand, which is down here, is the one that's full. That's becoming active. Circle the foot forward. And so now the left hand, in this case, is reaching up and lifting the guy's elbow while the right hand drops. Okay, so that's the important thing to remember. A punch is coming, you block, step through, find the elbow, lift it as the right hand drops. And you're stopping in front along your own midline, along the vertical. Right, and the hands are locked. It's like you're holding a pane of glass along your own midline. And what you're using is the hips turning to power the hand movements. Right? Okay, so what you're doing to the guy is this. this, right? The elbow is being brought up as the hand is being brought down. And you can see here, you want to make sure you stop here along your own midline. You don't go further. First of all, because this would be bad for you because you're crossing yourself. But also you see if you turn somebody's arm, if you go further, all I have to do is relax my shoulder and I can get out of it, right? If you go further than this, if you try to turn, I can release from the shoulder. I can release that twist. So what you want to do is turn the guy's arm here and then lock it, right? So if I've just punched, elbow goes up, and then you lock it against their own body. Because the next thing you do, right, if I was here and I twist the joint, is a push forward. Because the energy of twist the joint, right, is a spiral moving forward. So it's here, here, and then forward. Boom, and then, right, so there's pressure. Because your weight is on the right leg, so my left hand is the one that's active. So you can feel here, if you're locked, I can push against the elbow and push the guy away, right? So that's what you're doing. So you want to think in terms of block, raise the elbow, lock, boom. Because from here, then you could do whatever else, but this hand is locking their arm, right? You have control of their elbow and they're locking their arm against their own body, or they're here. Right, so that's twist. Block, twist, lock. That's the idea. Right. Remember, it's a variation on the ward off. That's why it starts as a block. You're here, block. Hand goes up. Use a punch to the face, block, step through, find that elbow, raise the elbow, and then lock. Yeah. Okay? Because from here, you're locking. Boom. So in the form, you just come here and we just make sure that you stop at the midline and you're set down. So it's the hips are powering the hands. Right? So it's now the arms doing the work. So you're sitting down, lifting, lifting, lifting. All right? That make sense?
And the front foot turns just a little and then stays just slightly halfway between
So the foot is going to twist in order, so the front foot is pivoting on the ball of the foot in order to allow the hips to turn. If your foot was fixed, you try to turn, then that hip can't move. So you have to turn the heel so the hips are open so that you can turn and sit on that rear leg. So you're 100% on the rear foot, pivoting on the ball of the front foot. And the foot is not pointing to the diagonal.
Front foot ends at the diagonal for the next step.
Yeah, exactly. So if your foot was straight and then you sit down, now the foot is pointed to the diagonal. So for the next move, you just shift and now your foot is in the correct position because you want your foot to be essentially, in this case, pointed to the cardinal. Because remember, we're traveling towards the diagonal. So foot is pointed towards the cardinal so that now it's in the correct position for the next step.
Oh, yeah, I shifted where I was facing the city.
Right. So the only thing to remember is go ahead and sit, turn that front foot, so it's basically roughly in the correct position for the next move. Right? Because you're going that way. So you want your foot to be to the diagonal of your direction. Right, so if you get the feet right, everything ends up right. So you start with the feet at all times, right? Start with the feet, big step, circle step, sit, pivot, right? Drop, big step, circle step, pivot, foot is to the diagonal, shift, and now you're pointing in the correct direction. So the transition from twist the joint to elbow strike Again, think of it as first and foremost a foot move. Because we're here, and we're going to shift and turn. Right? Because my foot is pointing that way, so when I shift my weight onto it, my hips, well, my knee especially, needs to be in the same position as my foot, so there's no torque on it, there's no sideway tension. So if my foot is pointing this way, when I shift my weight, my knee wants to point in this direction, my hips are going to turn to point in that direction as well. My rear foot is going to be completely empty. Right? Shift everything this way, right? My body turns. It makes my body turn in space.